Hello everyone, in this video I'm going to use the drawing feature in Creative Flow in edit mode, and this is going to be the full video of the one that I did in a YouTube short. So this is just going to be a simple recreation of that, and this is just going to be some sort of crate to make it simple. So let's start by mirroring the source object or the work mesh. So the eyedropper means you have to pick an area of the mesh you want mirrored, and that will be the real geometry, while the rest will be the geometry created by the mirror modifier. If you want to relocate the real geometry, you can just reuse the auto mirror again and click on an area, and the XYZ toggle is already on, so you can just press space to confirm. So, but I like my real geometry side on this area. Okay, so let's design the source mesh a bit and draw cuts. So draw cuts works on faces in edit mode. If nothing is selected, it works on all the faces. If something is selected, it only works on that particular face or faces. So if nothing's selected, everything will be drawn, and the faces that have been drawn will be selected afterwards, so you can just immediately extrude it or something. And we also have the Cutro, which is something important. So if you're drawing, you can use the Cutro right here, Cutro, the hotkeys T, and right now by default it starts with off, so you can press T to turn it on. So in the recent updates, when you turn it on, it will always be on. And from before, it will default to off. So that was a bit confusing. So I changed that in the recent update. So all we have to do is, so if, for example, if this is off and we draw something like this, you have to encompass the entire shape or area. So this line here and this line here won't draw over this area like that. So there's no cut through, so there's no line right here, and you have to basically draw something. So something like polygon, and when you press Control, it will snap on middle of edges, middle of face, and then a vert or vertices. But in this case, we're just going to use the cut through. Draw cuts, press T to cut through, and I'm going to press 2. So not everything in model mode will be captured by the screencast keys, so just remember that, but I will be mentioning the keys that I'm using. So number 2 to choose polygonal. 1 is the box, the default. 2 is the polygonal shape. Of course, polygonal shape is point by point. And number 3 is circle, and number 4 is the strips, which you can increase the size using Control A or Control B. And you can press Shift to, of course, slow down the increments, something like that. So in this case, we're just going to use the number 2, which is polygonal. So to reset the draw, I think you could use R or T, or no, T is cut through. I think reset is, if you press H, it will go to the next page. Draw points, place, snap, grab, freeze. Reset draw mode is R. Oh, or Shift R. Nope. Oh, that will be for the bevels. So R, and Shift R is global, so that's bevels. That's the bevel, and for the width, the profile, the segments, everything is going to be reset, and then also the array. So just look at the helper UI right here. So if we're going to reset this, just press 1 and then 2. So goes to cube and then goes back to polygonal using number 2, and that resets the draw points without right clicking to cancel each point. So left click is to draw the points, and you might see the X marker here. The X marker is what detects the surface underneath the mouse cursor, and this will place the drawing in that area. Let's go to object mode and use draw faces. Okay, so you can see that the X is on the surface here. So this is our view direction. This is our monitor from our viewport from last time, and we draw using this view, and the surface detected underneath the mouse cursor is here. So the distance by which the object is created from the viewport is in that X marker. And you can see in the box, the X is in the first point here. And in the circle, number 3, it's in the middle. And number 4 strip is the same, and number 4 strips is the same as polygonal. The X is here. So you place the first point, the X point on a surface to stick it in. But you can, of course, manually place the X and remove it from the drawing points using C. You can see the X point being relocated, and also the 3D cursor. And to get it back to its original position, I think Shift C. Shift C is Alt C. There we go. Shift C is, what is Shift C? Shift C is snapping on elements. So middle of edge, a vert, and a face. Okay. So in this case, we just want the okay. We're just going to use the default position. So we have cut through on, and we're going to draw something. Just draw the shape that we're going to inset or extrude. And we're just going to add here. So remember that the unselected faces cannot be drawn on if you have a selected faces. And so when you draw a point, this is freehand, and when you press shift, it will snap in 45-degree angles. Right here in the helper, you can change that using the left arrow and the right arrow on your keyboard, and it will increase or decrease in 5-degree increments. So 45. So 45 degrees, and then we have the combination of Alt. When you press Shift and Alt will snap the last point to the first point of the draw object in polygon or polygonal mode, and you can combine it with Shift to snap to 45 degrees, and also make it snap to the first point. So you have a straight edge on the last drawn edge. So the dash line is going to represent the last point, and this is going to, and added to the earlier points, will represent the shapes that you have already drawn. So if I add this, so that's the current shape that I've drawn. Okay. So let's escape and inset. Press B to avoid the borders. So when you inset, my advice is to just give it a small margin like that. Press B. In this case, I'm pressing B to get rid of these inset faces in the center line or symmetry line. and then Alt S, or you can press Alt S afterwards if you forgot to, because I'm looking at it uh, straight. I can't view the depth. So in this case, if I were to insert like this, I could press Control and then just do it like that. But if I were inserting straight and I cannot view the insert depth afterwards, I just confirm the operation and just use Alt S to copy the same behavior. So when you use a small margin for the inset, to get something like this, the detail is much more obvious and pronounced. Instead of just extruding in or insetting in without any margin, so if you extrude or inset in without any margin, you can see that the detail is not really that visible unless you go for a different angle. And you can view it because we have ambient occlusion in the viewport. So if I turn off cavity, not ambient occlusion, but cavity, you cannot see the detail anymore. Look at that. And this is also the same way with baking. If you were to bake this, the baker or the bake engine, the baker, will not see the detail, and it will just bake this. So if you're in setting, my advice is just give it a little margin. So we're going to go back to cavity and undo and inset just a bit. And when you have inserted, press F9 for the undo panel and set your value here. So every time you will inset, I think the value will be remembered. Let me just set it at 0.004 and try it here. So no, it didn't remember that. No, see? Okay, sorry about that. There's another way. Some operators do remember that, the old setting. So 0.004, hover the mouse over to the trace thickness parameter, Control C to copy the value, and we're just gonna forget it while we shrink flatten this to create the inset. See that the detail is much more obvious, and if we turn off cavity, we'll still see the detail, and this will bake much better. Okay, let's get the cavity back on. Okay, so let's just add more stuff here. Just, this is sci-fi, so we're free to do whatever we want. Okay, I for inset, F9, and then Control V. There we go. It pasted the 0.004 value that we used before, so it kind of makes everything uniform. There we go. And the details again are much obvious. And in here, so this is an InGuns workflow or non-sub D. There is a subdivision surface workflow where you use subdivision, of course, and you get the sharp edges using supporting edges. And there is the non-sub D. We have the InGuns, and you get the sub D look of the edges using bevels in this case. Okay, so yeah. And don't be like, what about you don't have to animate static objects, okay? Unless you're going for physics based effects, then you do need to have this qualified because I think the physics effects needs a lot of faces to make it work, and quads just is more optimal for that compared to using dynamic topology or just tries. Okay, so inset F9, Control V. It's kind of annoying to just bring the undo panel every time, but we have no choice. So Good thing about InGuns is this: you can move the details around because the topology, you don't really care too much about the topology. The render engine will just uh, triangulate this. But in just in case that the face shows any shading error, then you have to triangulate it manually. That's the point of triangulating game assets manually, because sometimes the render engine with its own triangulation schemes will connect the wrong vertices to the to each other and create shading errors. So most I think artists just manually triangulate those. But if you triangulate and no shading error, then you're good. Okay, so we have that side. And we're going to create this side. So I'm pressing Shift always, and always using the this add-on is old. This is actually uh two add-ons from before. This is istos. Oops. 0.004 Control C, and I can actually just modify the depth right here. So this is actually two add-ons, Cuber and istos. And istos is supposed to, so right here I'm going to use Shift 4 to go to array mode, and then you can add the array using WSAD. So that's basically up, down, left, right. But these are gamer controls, and so I'm pressing D right now. And to increase the space between them, I'm going to use what am I going to use? Alt D. There we go. Alt D. Alt D. And you can press Shift. You can combine Shift to that to make the increments slower. So somewhere around here to match up with the symmetry. Okay, and inset F9, Control V, and we're going to adjust the depth. There you go. Right here, do something like go to 4 and strips. And so right now, the hotkey for creating the increasing the thickness and decreasing it is Control AD. You can add Shift to that again to slow down the increments, but it conflicts with the snapping control. When you press Control, you have snapping for the edges, verts, and faces, but it conflicts with the. So just be aware of that. And we're going to create a diagonal face or slanting face right here. Oops. Oh, you're supposed to create. This is not considered a point yet, so you need to create point. Click. There we go. F9, Control V. There we go. So actually, let me just inset. You can find the redo panel right here also. Just maximize that. So you don't have to recall the undo panel using F9. And I'm going to also use array right here. And go to box and then press Shift 4. Go to array and do something like this. And increase the margin between them. Oops, maybe reduce the number. Okay. Somewhere around here. And to increase the bevel, oops, increase the bevel. Where do I go to increase the bevel? Oh, Shift 1 to go to bevel. Shift 1 is Bevel. Shift 4 is array. Shift 2 is rotation. Shift 3 is what is shift 3? Inset, I think. So shift 1, and then we're going to array this. Bevel the the corner verts, and then press space to confirm. And then we're going to inset, then paste the value here, and adjust the. There we go. Adjust the depth. If you're not after the operation, if the redo panel is gone, and you want to insert this increase the depth of this more, just use Alt S. There you go. We're going to create a handle right here. Press R to get rid of the bevel, and just draw something like this, and extrude, give it an angle, and create a face right here, extrude to the z-axis, and it's got a face, so XF to remove that face, and we have the handle right here. So I want to increase or decrease the thickness. So this is the advantage of using InGuns. It's much easier to adjust the shape and the position without the all the quad faces being in the way. Okay. I'm going to draw here. Oops. So let's just delete that. So you really have to encompass everything while drawing. Inset F9 and Control V. Actually, let's increase this for this part and do something like this. And maybe create a hole in the middle. Wait, like that. So, okay, maybe not. Highlight this face so the drawing stays on that, and inset. I'm just gonna freehand the inset value or not. 0.004, and there you go. Control V. Okay, so slowly but surely. And if you do want a quad structure, then you can just use this to draw the design first before actually trying to quadify everything. So my advice is, if you're going to do that, try and take advantage of tries, so you don't have to. Making pure quads out of everything is just going to make it really hard unless you incorporate some tries in there. So do incorporate some tries when you're trying to do that. Mostly quads, but with some tries. So it'll be much easier for you to redirect or stop the edge flow, so it doesn't go towards an area where there's already too much edge loop. You can use tries for that. So you position tries on non essential areas. Okay. So, and that will be mostly for animated objects. They put tries behind the ears, for example, for humans. So those are not going to really be seen if they do generate some shading error while animating, because it's going to be covered by hair, and also it's going to be covered by the ear. So they hide it, and yeah. about this one? How about we inset and create a boss or emboss? There we go. So, and then we're going to the only uh the only weakness of this is that the drawing feature is that it can only draw once shape. It cannot duplicate this. So what we need to do is use another technique that's in the add-on. Okay, set your 3D cursor to snap. Where is it? Uh, 3D cursor. There we go. Shift space on the 3D viewport and select cursor. Go here in the properties panel and click on surface project. So when you click on an object, it will the 3D cursor will snap on that. So this is pretty useful because with Blender, the things you create or the objects you create will be positioned in the 3D viewport. So when you add a cube, it will create itself on the 3D viewport. 3D cursor, I mean, not 3D viewport. So this is what the add intersect object will be for. Okay, so position the 3D cursor here and go to edit mode, add intersect object, cylinder, and view. Okay. And we're going to duplicate this. This is actually another object. We're going to duplicate this on different areas. This is going to represent like screw or something. And click on our intersect object and on our work mesh, and then go to edit mode, and then intersect faces, and cut, or not cut, draw. Okay, and then we can model this using just simple inset. You're actually trying to insert in the there you go. So it's kind of, the technique is primitive but works. Okay, and just, so don't mind the, actually they are connecting too far. So we're going to use create an edge here and connect it to that instead. Alt M, Shift M, and then last. There we go. Just to make it not as thin as this. So click and click on this, and then last. There we go. So it doesn't look too thin on that area. So I'm just going to draw some random shape here. And hopefully it looks all right. And let's just bevel this. Select all these faces and inset. So if this doesn't look good, I could just, it's probably too much. So yeah, undo that and draw something here. Shift 1 to go to bevel, and then oops, this is view based drawing, so do not change the zoom and the view angle. So press A and D to increase the bevel, and you can of course combine shift with that to slow down the increments. Okay, we're going to insert this up or away from the mesh. There you go. We're going to create a triangle indicating the direction of something. Okay, 0.004 and increase the depth. Okay, let's get it closer to the center. And here I'm going to add another line or rectangle and then bevel and bevel up. Okay. So we have this really simple thing, thing, sprite model, using just drawing, and it's pretty light, and you can use it for as a background asset in your scene. Okay, we're just going to do a simple. Let me just save this. A simple shading using random flow. Go to shading and up in materials. I'm just going to add the airflow metal. Okay, so we're still going to fix the material and make it look right for this particular model. Okay, the edge mask strength is 1 and radius is 0.01. And probably noise detail noise scale somewhere around 15. Cavity mask somewhere around here, and quick dirt. So you need the node wrangler to make this possible to view the nodes. So you just control shift left click on the node and you can see the preview. Okay, so notice that the texture is kind of radially growing on some points. You need to increase the offset for that. Okay, to make it more diffused, to make the distribution more diffused. And if you need to go back to the shader view, just click on the shader, Control Shift click on the shader. Okay. Let's reduce the saturation for this one. Copy this color over to the cavity mask. And let's actually reduce the effect of the ambient occlusion right here. And also where's our, we need to have a view node on where to, the view branch node. They highlight the branch so you can see where it goes. Right now it's going here. Okay, that's the bump. I need the color. Oh, third one. Somewhere around here, and also make it lighter. You make it more metallic. And we're going to introduce vertex color as just a means of dirtying the object. It's probably not gonna be optimal for InGuns. So the way vertex color works is that it's going to be more efficient for quads, especially with high res models, compared to InGuns. But let's run. Random vertex color, no color, and then sharp. It's not made of randomized meshes or face islands, so we're just going to use sharp. And there is no mark sharp edges on this, so we're going to use the mark sharp toggle to have the script make those mark sharp edges. There we go. And this is just going to be a starter, or not. So we can create more f-stops using this, and then you can, of course, randomize the value on this one here. There we go. And the only thing wrong here is this one. So with this one, we're not going to use randomization, we're going to use creative flow. And highlight this. It's a slow process, but okay. And get rid of the overlay. I'm going to get rid of the overlay. I'm still in edit mode, but I got rid of the overlay so I can view the faces or the vertex color. Okay, vertex color set. Okay, and this one here. Oh, probably not this one. So this one here. And this one. We're going to make it match up to the color of this face here. Okay, and vertex color, pick this, and there you go. Okay, there's these faces. Pick. There's one here. Pick. There we go. Okay, so we've used the randomization to create the base color. So this is going to, this can act as your base color where you can put your grime and dirt using textures. So basically just use the color mix to add your image textures that will dirty up this base color. Okay, to add this, you need to go to input and attributes. So you need to have node wrangler on for the attributes submenu to appear. So vertex color, the random vertex color operator, when we used it, created the vertex color vertex group. So this is how you find it. Click on it and drag it to the, it will add itself on the material settings window, and then we can drag the color to the A, which replaces the RGB from before. And when we view it, so we need something to actually control its intensity. Set this to overlay and set the color to A and set the factor to 1, and then you can control the intensity using the color bar, the second color bar or the B color bar. There we go. Actually, this one is not the same as the top. There we go. Let's just change the, actually this is too reflective. So let's just, there you go. So all this need, we're just going to add some lights to make it more interesting. Right now it's looking pretty dull. And probably this one as well. And Control Shift X materials, add material, name this emit. Okay, and we actually have to change this to an emit because that by default it adds principal BSDF. Set this to something like 10 and can go ahead and change the color. Go. So let me try always. So this is with render view. I mean compositor. In the viewport, let me just fix the compositor. Destroy this one and reset. And probably add emission in the layers. We're going to make it bloom or shine, something like that. Not denoising data. Emission. I don't know if you have to actually render it first. F3 to search for glare and use the emit output to the image, and we're going to use glare, and we're going to use bloom, and we're going to use something like 0.25 for the threshold and the highlights. I love that they have actually made this more complicated or more advanced. This used to be pretty simple. So threshold, let me change this to, no, it doesn't. We have to probably render this. Let me see. So you can see the render window because the OBS capture only captures the main Blender window. So there's that. Rendered. It's still not. Threshold is 0.1. Emit image. Since it's not working on the viewport right now. I made it work the other day. I don't know why it's not working anymore, but anyway, let's just there's a, what is that? Let's just use camera. There's an exclamation point. I don't know what that is. Okay. So let's just continue on and just probably set it back to the original disabled. Okay, so this is our rate model, and you don't have to triangulate it to keep it clean, so you can edit it much easier in the future. You can assign it to the asset browser, and so you can drag and drop it to your scene. And also, what am I thinking? The triangulation, again, if it does create a shading error in the render, you can just go ahead and manually triangulate that part or that area. So for example, if you're using other render engines, except Cycles or maybe Eve, and it generated shading error, then of course you need to manually triangulate to avoid it. So because this is pretty light, we can create a whole bunch of this in the scene, probably use a scatter add-on to scatter it, and place it on areas in your scene as background asset. And let me just add a final effect. Let's create the ground. Go ahead to shading and new. I'm going to add the ground texture that I got from Polyhaven. Okay, let me just dirt to road. Oh no. You can see the browsing window because again, the OBS capture cannot capture the any external window except for the main window of Blender. So you can find it. Square, shell floor, rocks, ground, rocks. Let me just use the This one. I can't find the other one. This, which is much darker. It's probably much better to view the model, but this is all this texture always reminds me of Star Wars because Star Wars is mostly desert, or mostly shot in desert environments. Okay, so yeah, that's it. We have our drawn sci-fi crate model, all with using Creative Flow. And let me just briefly show you there's show you okay this dude grid project. I'll do another video for this. So average view. You wanna know what this is for? This is to provide temporary grid structure, so you can create randomization on that area using random flow, because random flow only randomizes can only randomize squad-based topology. Sort of like that. See? Uh, Actually, you don't codify. You don't create a grid on the source mesh. You go to random flow, extras, and then utility, or not utility, mesh, extract faces, and you do it here on the extracted face. So you don't mess around with the topology of the work mesh. Okay, and that will be for another video, specifically for that. Okay, so that is it for this video. I hope you learned something new, and of course, become much more interested with Creative Flow. This is actually a um, very, I can't find the word, yeah, very able add-on. Uh, and yeah, to put it simply, it's more optimally used to create or iterate base meshes for hard surface, and then just step up workflow. For example, base mesh, you draw some stuff, and then or use boolean, and then second part you apply those booleans or you confirm those draw cuts. Then second phase of the detail, smaller and smaller as um, the details become more smaller or yeah, or detailed. So it's a step up workflow. It's not meant to work with boolean like slowly. I mean fully. You're supposed to confirm the boolean, then use the boolean again for the second phase, which is the secondary detail, and then apply the boolean, and then for tertiary detail, use boolean again. So because adding more and more boolean kind of slows down the workflow and affects your phase. So actually applying it before heading up to the next round of detail is much more efficient in my opinion. So to keep the to get a backup of the previous model, you can just save that as a copy, a backup copy. When you save in Blender, there's a plus icon in the file bar, in the file name bar. So for example, your file right now is ASDF. If you press that, it will add one to that, and that becomes another file. Then you can save, and it doesn't overwrite the other one. So, for example, if you have ASDF 22, if there's a number there, then it will change that number to 23 or something. So it's good. And I wish Windows have that natively, but it's good that we have that in Blender. Okay, so yeah, that's it for this video. If you have any questions, just the comment section below or the links in the description. Subscribe, like, comment, and share. Thank you for watching, and you have a nice day.